We are still talking about memberships and answering questions, and we've been talking about it for a while, and so we're going to keep going. The next question is, what other expenses can I expect to pay if I join your membership? We want to be upfront and clear and honest about all the expenses you expect to pay. So the main two categories that you can expect that you will need to pay for is labs, testing, and number two is supplements. The other two categories that are kind of optional are infusions and peptides. But first, I want to start off with labs and testing. Yes. There's a lot of questions that can come there, but the first thing we almost do in all of our patients is what?
Stool study.
Yes.
Right, or at least some type of gut test. So our expectation with testing is that depending on your finances, we can kind of test as needed, right? There is a need for clinical testing in the beginning. We do need to see your lab work. We do need to have certain kind of a little microscope into what's going on in your body, but we don't have to do every test in the book. We'll tell you what's necessary, and we'll tell you, hey, if you just like to track data, here's a few other tests that you can do right now. There are tests at some point that you will have to do, but we can tell you, you can push that down in about 6 months. We don't have to do it right now. There's some treatment we can start, but again, it's all up to you.
And with insurance on the stool study, it's usually around $200. Now, it's subject to change. We're recording the video right now. We don't do the labs. That's the labs pricing. But you'll pay $200 upwards of $400. What's weird about labs is if you tell us you're not going to use insurance and you just want to pay cash, we can tell you exactly how many dollars and cents you're going to pay for each lab because you pay the lab directly for most things. We charge for some because they don't do lab patient billing, but we'll do the billing for them. But the two tests we do on almost every patient, if you have the finances, is number one is a stool study. Number two is blood work. We do a 12-page panel of blood work. We're currently using Cleveland Heart Lab as the lab, and they're an insurance-based lab. Even with insurance, you can sometimes get a bill of $450 or $500 from that lab. Some people pay $0, some people pay $450. We don't know based on your insurance plan. But once again, if you want to pay cash for labs, that specific lab, we know the price tag on, and we can even pare it down to another lab to get a lot of the same markers for a lot cheaper. In general, we always want a wellness panel around $300, $350. And so we always have a wellness panel that you can do that's multiple pages of labs for that price tag. I don't want to make any claims of what lab we're going to use because we might change in the future. But in general, as Aubrey already said, it's kind of our promise to you that we don't want you spending all of your money on labs and testing, because ultimately labs and testing just gives you answers, but it doesn't actually give you solutions. It doesn't get you any closer to feeling better. So if you only have $300 to spend, we are not going to spend it on the labs. We're going to ask you to take a leap of faith with us and say, hey, we've seen a patient like you before. We think you're most likely A, B, and C, so we're going to treat you with D, E, and F. But ultimately, if we're doing it without testing, our promise to you is that you will be better, 50% better in 6 months. If we're doing it blindly, if we're doing it without testing, that means we can't do some of the individualized, customized supplementation that we would do if your homocysteine were 15 and your B12 were 200. And if you don't do labs, we don't know those things. And so we're going to go forward with testing. And at some point, we might have to say, hey, we've got to do this test because you're not getting better like we expected you to. And so we need to go back and do the testing. So just as a new patient, you can expect to do 2 tests, a big panel of blood, it's multiple tubes of blood, and a stool study. And so with insurance up to $450, the stool study itself is around $400 flat with cash, cheaper with insurance.
Correct.
There's many other tests that we'll do in the long run and can do in the long run. As you get healthier, as you conquer your health goals, we'll unlock the next step. And so if you've ever heard me talk about my 5 goals, we've got gut, we've got biological, we've got mold, we've got environmental chemicals, we've got heavy metals. Each one of those is a separate test, and some of those are multiple tests. But we try to meet the patient where they're at and try to focus expenses on treatment instead of testing when finances are limited. So that brings up our next subject of how much can I expect to spend on the treatment?
So it's going to ebb and flow a little bit, right? So there will be baseline supplementation that you will need throughout the course. Our goal is obviously you will start out with more than what you actually need long term. So you start out with a higher amount and eventually you go down to bare minimum. But what happens is there's always going to be an ebb and flow throughout your treatment. We do have certain treatment protocols like a certain gut restoration that we know that we'll customize to you, but you're looking around $700, $600 to $700 sometimes with those surges. But we make sure that we pick what's absolutely necessary. And if we have to stretch out the treatment because of finances, we'll figure out a way to do it. But certain protocols just take longer. We usually do about 2 to 3 rounds of customized gut protocol per patient. This is all an average. So you're looking at for the total over that, a little over $2,000. And then it depends on what else we're looking at. If it's mold specific or Lyme specific or hormone specific, you name it, there can just be different price tag associated with it. But we want to make sure that if we are doing a surge of a protocol, that we limit as many as your maintenance supplements or kind of like extracurricular finances as possible.
Yeah. So our patients can expect to spend $200 to $300 per month on supplements. Now, it also depends on how rigorous that patient is with their diet, right? If you want to, everybody needs fish oil, so you can either eat the fish or take the oil. If you're going to eat the fish, well, you don't need to buy the oil. And it also depends on how sick you are. The sicker you are, the worse absorption you have. It's almost like the more supplementation you need to take because your body's not absorbing B vitamins very well. So now you have to take extra B vitamins, and then your brain's say you're depressed and have gut issues. Well, yes, now we have you on gut supplements and restoring the root cause, but you're still suffering and struggling, so you're on a mood support as well. So in the beginning, your supplementation, as Aubrey said, may start out high and can work your way down, but ultimately we're going to work with you wherever you're at. So if you can't afford that $200 or $300 on supplementation, then we will tell you what is required. We will pare that list down to a bare minimum. There will be certain pieces where we're like, you have to do this or you're going to struggle to get over that next hurdle. Just unfortunately, some of the things in our human body, especially our gut microbiome, it's been so broken for years that it can't be fixed very quickly. So if you want to take the 18-month plan of fixing your gut, we'll be here along the way. But if you want to do it in our 6 months, you feeling 50% better, then you have to take these supplements to make that leap. Your buying time is basically what you're doing.
Yeah, and we will always tell you if there is a faster route. We work with your finances. Hey, this is our timeline for you, but if you really want to go in there and biohack and utilize some of these extra therapies that we have, you can get better faster. It's all about what you want to do. And we make sure if you're going to take supplements, we get the question of like, how do we know they're working? We prove it. We prove it with serum, blood testing. We prove it with gut testing. We prove it with any test that we originally got that kind of inclination to do it for in the first place. So we will show you the proof. We're not just asking you to believe a pie in the sky that's not there.
And the plan you start on will never be the plan you finish on. We always start with, you can only swallow, the human body, you can only swallow so many pills, and your gut can only take so many pills. So we always have a limit of how many pills and potions, as one of our patients says. Pills and potions we can give you in order to get you better, but over time, as we fix the gut, then we're transitioning into more detox. And as you finish the detox, then we're focusing on more anti-aging. So each level of care, each kind of hurdle you jump over, your supplementation plan may change. You may be on the same pill, or same number of pills, you may be on the same cost of pills and potions, but ultimately that regimen will look different each kind of month of your care. Aubrey mentioned some of the other expenses that you might want to consider. And so, as she mentioned, if you want to get better faster, we do infusions. Infusions are a key. It's cheating. It's totally cheating. When I first learned about infusions and started doing them and saw patients getting better as quickly as they did, I thought, man, this is cheating. This is just buying health back. And it's easy. It works.
And there are some patients that we do say, you may not get better for a long time unless you do it, but we are very transparent. We ultimately only want the best for someone. And as a patient myself, I can tell you IV therapy was needed for me. It's needed for certain people at different parts. And it is a higher financial cost, but we want to make sure that we're not these providers that are ever skyrocketing costs to make money. We'll never be the people who will just want to make money. We have to sustain a business, but your health comes first and foremost. So we will always be transparent. No, you don't need this, or I believe you do.
In general, if you do infusions, we ask you to do them once a week, and we usually sell them in packages of 10 to give you a discount. And so the infusions, if you buy one at a time, they're in the $200 to $300 range. But we always like to do the packages of saying, hey, you're going to commit to 10, and you're going to do these 10, and then we'll give you a steep discount. We'll meet you halfway. And so that package of 10 can range anywhere, depending on the type of package, from $200 each to $500 each. So that's a price tag of $2,000 upwards of I think $5,000 are our most expensive infusion. So you know the pricing, and it's upfront, and you know it's not hidden. One of the other things we frequently do with patients, especially the sicker you are, the more help you need to get healthier quicker, is peptides. We use a good bit of peptides. Once again, kind of an optional thing that's biohacking, gets you healthier faster. And so the peptides are injections. They're tiny little stomach injections that you would do at home, the baby needle. The idea behind peptides is they're live chemicals that your body produces that trigger healing reactions or growth hormones or whatever it may be. And so the compounding pharmacies have learned how to figure out the raw ingredient, and you can inject yourself with that peptide to stimulate that healing property. They are sterile and things, so it comes with a price. And each vial, usually there's different types. But they range anywhere from $200 to $300, and sometimes they sell bigger vials for more. But in general, a month's supply will be about $200 to $300.
And we will pulse it. We'll figure out what's best for you as well. We've commonly used it for people who can't progress quickly.
She needs peptides.
Yeah, I do. I take them. So. But we use them for people who do need that biohack, who do need that pep start, for people who are chronically ill, or like the professional athlete, or like someone who's like, I want to boost in my hormones too. I want to feel better energy, and I just want to kind of up the ante a little bit.
So more of the story is, it does cost money to do functional medicine. It does cost money to get your testing and supplements and peptides and infusions, but we will meet you where you're at. That's part of our job as prescribers and nutritionists, is to say, where are you at? How quickly do you want this? And how much money do you want to spend on it? And we can help find that right balance and say, you know what, you could do peptides, but that's going to cost $250. I would much rather you take this gut supplement, because that will get you to where you want in the long run. The peptide is just a crutch that will get you to that place, but then you're going to be right back when you stop it if you don't treat the root cause. So that's our job, to help you manage your finances in the appropriate way in order to get better.
Yes, and one thing that we do ask of you is for you to be transparent as well. We want communication. We never want to be the reason why that you're not getting better. We don't want you to feel pressure to buy anything. We don't want you to feel too timid about actually making a purchase. So we want to be here, I guess, logistically to help you navigate that too.
Money's real. It's limited. So we want to help. We haven't found the tree to grow money yet. Anyway, we'll end it there. Hopefully this was helpful.